What's going on, guys? I hope you're half as excited as I am because it has finally come. The Royal Rumble 2025 tonight in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the 38th rendition of the Royal Rumble. Feels like yesterday when we saw the very first winner of the Royal Rumble, right? 1988. I was just, barely 2 years old, if that. That's around the time I actually started watching pro wrestling. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the inaugural Royal Rumble match. And here we are. It's 2025. We have a 4-match card, a very exciting Royal Rumble at that. For the men, for the women, we have a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match between DIY defending their titles against the Motor City Machine Guns. And last but certainly not least, we have a big-time ladder match where Cody Rhodes will defend his Undisputed Championship against Kevin Owens. So we're going to talk about all that here today. We're really going to get into these men's and women's Rumbles. I mean, this men's Rumble is stacked. Best men's Rumble going into it in years. Hopefully it delivers. I'm sure it will. And then some. Women's Rumble's exciting too. There's been some rumblings, pun intended, very much intended, of some returning superstars. Nikki Bella, AJ Lee, perhaps. So we're going to get into all of that. I think I'm going to start off with the women's Royal Rumble because I just can't wait anymore, to be completely honest. Now, Stephanie McMahon the other day, she was on the Pat McAfee show, and she went on to say there will be a lot of surprises at the Royal Rumble this Saturday. Knows some things, but not all things. And even if she did, she wouldn't even be able to share that with us, as we know. So that's interesting. That Jordynne Grace, who recently finished up her time with TNA, making her way to WWE early in the week, it was said that she had signed with WWE officially. We all knew it was inevitable. But she put on Twitter the other day as well. She says, look, I'm going to be at my mother's 50th birthday party this weekend in Austin, Texas. She even went on to post her boarding pass from Atlanta, Georgia to Austin, Texas. But it's been rumored in the last day or so that, yeah, Jordynne Grace is in fact in Indianapolis, amongst many other superstars from TNA as well that are there for pro wrestling revolver shows, whether it's Ace Austin, whether it's Masha Slamovich, the new Knockouts champion who dethroned Jordynne recently. I think we may see Masha in that match. So, hey, we'll see. I think we see Jordynne Grace, the new signee to WWE, in that Royal Rumble, much like we did last year. Last year, we saw her come in from TNA as the champion. That was awesome. I guess the biggest question coming out of the Rumble is, will Jordynne Grace be on the NXT roster, or will she remain on the main roster, Raw or SmackDown? If it were up to me, I would have Jordynne Grace stay on Raw or SmackDown. Yeah, she could have some amazing feuds with Julia and whomever else, Stephanie Vaquer. The list goes on for days. But as much as I'd like to see her feud down there, maybe win a couple titles down there, I think she should immerse herself right into the main roster, but we'll see. A few other notes. Mandy Rose. Could we see Mandy Rose? Personally, I don't think we will. It's been a couple of years. She had a very long reign as NXT champion a couple of years ago after being let go from the company for, reasons I won't discuss. We all know why, or you could Google it. But Mandy Rose, she recently accused Tiffany Stratton, the new WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown, of stealing her slogan using the words, "Put some respect on my name." Like nobody's ever said that before. But I get why Mandy would say that. Now, there's two ways to look at this. Could Mandy just be feeling some type of way or jealous towards the former NXT champion herself, as well as Tiffany Stratton, aka also the current WWE Women's Champion, and Tiffany's fast rise within the company? Could Mandy be a little jealous? She went on to say something along the lines of, she used my slogan. And then she even went and said, Mandy's words, not mine. She said, according to what she saw from Tiffany Stratton, she said, "This bitch even used the same kind of tone that I did in NXT on an episode of SmackDown a week or two ago." So could Mandy Rose be planting the seeds of what we could potentially see Mandy and Tiffany mixing it up? Honestly, I'd love that. Again, I don't think Mandy's in this match, but I would love Mandy and Tiffany mixing it up in this match. Let's get to another big name, AJ Lee. We haven't seen her in WWE, I want to say since, 2015. I think her last WrestleMania match was alongside Paige when they went up against the Bella Twins. I want to say it was around that time. Long story short, it's been a decade. AJ Lee, people have been clamoring to have her back, much like CM her husband, that we finally got back Survivor Series 2023 in Chicago. And in a recent interview with Jackie Redmond, CM Punk had spoke to her, and Jackie said, who do you want to see in the Women's Rumble? Obviously, I'm sure he would love to say my wife, AJ Lee. But he said there's a big one that I'm not going to say because I'm going to get in trouble. So who could that be? Is he insinuating her? Could it be a couple other big names? He's friends with a lot of the women's wrestlers, not just in WWE or NXT, on the independents, other companies as well. We'll see what that means. But man, the possibilities are endless. Nikki Bella. We saw her on the debut episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and we never thought we'd see that relationship work out again after a couple of years ago. They separated themselves from the company. They did not like how they were being handled for the Raw 30 episode in Philly, did not show up. Ended up going to a play, I believe, in Manhattan that night instead. A month or two later, they parted ways from WWE in every which way. They went on to become just themselves, Nikki and Brie Garcia. You know, so seeing Nikki back in the WWE aspect of things, very interesting. So that being said, let's get to the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, it's been confirmed that for the Women's Rumble the last couple of weeks, we're going to get Nia Jax, Bayley, Liv Morgan, Charlotte Flair. 3 weeks in a row, we got vignettes for her return, which, you know, a lot of us thought it was going to be a surprise going into this Rumble. She's been out since December of 2023 with a knee injury, right? So we thought that was going to be a surprise. The good news is, since we know Charlotte's going to be in it, and she's pretty much favorited to win, just like Cena pretty much for the Men's Rumble, even though those two are not my picks, and we'll get to that, that means that there's got to be bigger things on the horizon, whether that is an AJ Lee or somebody like that, or Becky Lynch returning. We'll see. So Charlotte Flair, Bianca, Naomi, the Women's Tag Team Champions in this match. Raquel Rodriguez, Io Sky, a favorite of mine that we'll get to. The Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, also in this match, as well as Ivy Nile. Now, I know those 10 were definitely confirmed, and on this past Friday's episode of SmackDown, we also got Candice LeRae. So at least 11 are confirmed. I'm sure we'll see the United States Champion Chelsea Green in it as well. 12. Now I'm just going to name names that, as far as I know, were not confirmed, but I could see being in it. Outside of that, I could see Piper Niven. You know, she's basically hand in hand, side by side with Chelsea Green ever since they were tag team champions a couple of years ago. Zelina Vega. We got Sonya Deville. I'm going with the Pure Fusion Collective. Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, right? All three of them. Why not? Insert them all in this match. I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss returning. I am. I'm going with Alexa Bliss. Now, I think we get one of the two, and I'm going to go with Nikki Bella as a surprise return over Mandy Rose. Would love to see Mandy Rose, especially mixing it up with Tiffany Stratton. They definitely have something there. I'm going to go with Nikki Bella. AJ Lee. I got to go with AJ Lee. This may be a bit of a reach, a long shot, if you will, but I don't know. I'd rather be right. I'd rather be wrong about it all, you know, than to count her out and then her show up. So I'm just going to be optimistic and say we get the returns of Nikki Bella and AJ Lee. That's a lot to ask for in the same match, but we'll see. Becky Lynch, she's got to be making a return as well. There's been a lot of controversies with Asuka in the past week, especially on Twitter. She's expressed that I believe she's got, you know, all kinds of people coming onto her, whether that's stalkers or whatnot. So I'm not going to delve too much into that. I did see Asuka returning from injury at this Rumble, but maybe even if she was planned to be with all this going on, I may take Asuka out of the fold here. And just to get it out of the way, I'm going to go with somebody who is on the list of, I'm not sure, but it's got to be. I gotta put Natalya in this match. Mainly because she's one of the 2 women that have been in all 7 of these matches. There's only 2 women that have been in all 7 Women's Royal Rumbles, and that's Natalya, and that's Liv Morgan. So I'm going to go on with the rest of my list, so I'm just going to do that swap. I don't think we see Asuka. Would love to have her. Though I do think we see the return of Damage Control member Kairi Sane, who was taken out by the Pure Fusion Collective in the middle of December. So that being said, Dakota Kai also out with an injury, which is unfortunate too. Damage Control, they're quite literally living up to their name. There's always somebody injured, whether it's Asuka, Kairi, Dakota especially, whether it's kayfabe or legitimate. So at least we'll have Io in there. At least, hopefully, we'll have Kairi, even if we don't have Asuka and Dakota in that match. Now I got to go with the returning Jade Cargill. This is a very big deal. She's been out since, what, November 22nd episode of SmackDown when they announced that Jade Cargill was attacked. We're not sure who it is. She was shown on the hood of a car, literally lying there like she was chalked out. Like you see on a sidewalk or on the streets, you see somebody chalked out, how they're lined. This is what Jade Cargill was laying there. It was actually pretty comedic. That said, it's not going to be funny when Jade Cargill returns. And I'm going to tell you why. When she returns, she's either coming after the names mainly mentioned. I know there's probably been more than this, but the top 4 or 5 names that have been mentioned is, could it be her tag partner, Bianca Belair? Could it be Naomi? A lot said, dating back to Naomi's return at the Rumble last year, Jade was the one who threw Naomi over the top rope in Naomi's return to the company. After being gone a year and a half, being an Impact Knockouts champion, obviously we all know had Naomi and Sasha Banks left in May of 2022 as the tag team champions. So there's a lot there. So initially, a lot of people jumped to Bianca, then thought Naomi. I'm thinking it was Naomi who attacked Jade, but we'll get to that hopefully after the Rumble and be able to get some clarity on that. So if it could be Bianca, it could be Naomi. Some say it's Lash Legend from NXT and Jakara that did it. Others have said maybe Nia Jax, Piper Niven, the list goes on. But long story short, when Jade returns, which I assume will be at the Rumble, it's going to be a big deal because she's coming after somebody. Hopefully she knows who it is, and then we find out who the attacker was, and it's going to be very interesting going forward. So going to have Jade Cargill come back after 2+ months away. Going to go with the Knockouts champion. You know, we'll see Masha Slamovich, I believe in 2022. Mickie James showed up as the Impact Knockouts champion last year. We had Jordan Grace, who's going to show up at this Rumble as a member of the WWE roster in some capacity. And now we're going to get Masha Slamovich, which I'm a big fan of. I saw her live this past July. You know, she's very good, to say the least. So, deservedly so, champion. Jordan Grace, again, she's going to debut with the company, although this will be her second Rumble. And talking about repeated Rumbles, Roxanne Perez, 3rd time's the charm. Not saying she's going to win it, but this could be the time that Roxanne Perez is now a permanent member of the main roster. She was in the last 2 Royal Rumbles. Again, this will be her 3rd consecutive. She had a great reign as 9+ months as NXT Women's Champion. Very good 2024 for her. So she'll be making her way to the Rumble. Now, we're going to see. There's 10 names I could belt out right now that we could potentially see coming up to the main roster, at least for this one night from NXT, right? You could talk about Sol Ruka. You could talk about Fallon Henley, the North American champion, Kalani Jordan, the inaugural North American champion, Stephanie Vaquer, who's going to be North American champion. I think she'll beat Fallon Henley at Vengeance Day. Jada Parker, the NXT Women's Champion, Julia. The list goes on. Lola Vice, Lash Legend. So I'm not going to include Jada, Julia, or Stephanie. I think we could see at least one, if not 2 of those women. I'm technically not including them on my list. Would love to see them, but I think we see them all next year. This year, I'm definitely sticking with Roxanne Perez. And the other 2, I'm going to go with Lola Vice and possibly Lash Legend. Again, Lash Legend, I cannot emphasize this enough. Her improvement over the last 1.5 to 2 years has been absolutely incredible. I remember when I saw her in late 21, early 22, I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is for her. You know, complete transparency. The last couple of months, especially in tag team action with Jakara Jackson, going up against the likes of Jade and Bianca, now Naomi and Bianca this past Tuesday in NXT for those tag titles in Atlanta, Georgia, Lash looks phenomenal. So I could see Lash coming in this match and causing the most damage. I see Lash Legend, if she is in this match, her or Jordan Grace, the Juggernaut, one of those 2 having the most eliminations for the women. I'm excited. I'm excited for them. And so I think that takes me to about 28, 29 territory. And then, so I'm going to wrap things up with Michin. I think Michin will take me to number 30. Again, there's many others I could sit here and name for days, whether it's B-Fab, Kaden and Katana, who are a great tag team, Alba and Isla, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, great tag team, and all 4 of those women are good in singles too. Kaden, Katana, Alba, Isla, even B-Fab, doing a great job. So she's been in the Rumble. I don't know if she was in it last year. She was definitely in the 2023 Rumble as a member of Hit Row. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here. And so, you know, in a video I put out about a week ago, I had the vast majority of these people. It's changed up a little bit. My winner has not changed. I am going with Io Sky to win the Rumble. So if you want to revert to that video I posted a week ago, you can check out my predictions for the Women's Rumble there, where I narrowed it down to a Final 4 and everything. But I do think Io Sky wins the Women's Rumble. Now, look, it's been rumored Charlotte Flair is probably going to win this because 3 weeks of vignettes. She's been out since December of 23. She's got makeup for lost time, essentially, not being able to perform last year at WrestleMania 40. A milestone mania, nonetheless. Would it have been Charlotte Bianca? We don't know. But a lot are saying we're going to get Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. And that could still happen, right? She doesn't have to win the Rumble. She could easily go on in Toronto, March 1st, exactly a month later, and win the Elimination Chamber, which is where I kind of see Charlotte getting it done. So the other thing is Charlotte, Tiffany, likely to happen at Mania, regardless how that happens. But the other interesting thing is Bianca Belair. That's been internally discussed lately. Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas for the Women's World Championship. That's a juicy one that a lot of us have wanted for a couple of years now as well. So I don't know. Does Bianca win the Rumble? I'm saying Io. I think Io may fall to 3rd on that list for a lot of people, regardless which way you slice it, whether it's Bianca, whether it's Charlotte, that you have winning. And whoever would win, whether it was Bianca or Charlotte, would be the first 2-time Women's Royal Rumble winner. Charlotte winning in 2020, Bianca winning the following year in 2021. And it's funny, too, which I'll get to in a little bit. There's actually a funny statistic where Charlotte Flair is usually the one who eliminates Bianca in the Royal Rumble matches. It happened at least 2 or 3 times within the course of the last few years. So that's interesting to say the least. So we'll see what happens as far as that is concerned. Now, as far as the women go, before I get to the men's Royal Rumble, let's talk some fun facts, okay? Let's talk about this being the 8th Women's Royal Rumble in general. 2018, Asuka won. She came in at number 25. 2019, Becky Lynch won, coming in at number 28. 2020, Charlotte Flair won, coming in at 17. 2021, like I said, Bianca Belair, she came in at number 3. 2022, Ronda Rousey at 28. 2023, Rhea Ripley came in at number 1. And 2024, last year, of course, Bayley won at the number 3 spot. So simply stated, I'm very curious how this is going to play out. 2021, 2024, somebody won at the 3 spot. 2019, 2022, somebody won at the 28 spot. If my math serves correct, this year would mean that somebody's going to win on or around the 28 spot. Is that going to happen? Who knows? But I think it may be a later entry that gets the job done this year. And personally, I'm hoping for Io Sky. If it goes on to be Charlotte Flair or Bianca Belair, who are very popular picks to win it as well, good for them. I'd personally prefer Bianca for a couple of reasons. I'd rather her be the first 2-time Royal Rumble winner for the women. And that stated, her and Rhea Ripley is a match I would love to see. Especially, I'd love to see that without the Women's World Championship on the line. But we get a title at Mania. Take my money, as they say. Charlotte, Tiffany Stratton, again, you're still going to get to that even if Charlotte does not come back and win the Rumble. Especially, you got to be realistic. I mean, maybe when it comes to Charlotte Flair, maybe not. She's on her way to 15 world titles. But she's been out for almost a year and a half, Charlotte, basically. And so her coming back and winning the Rumble, sure, it could happen. But I would have her win at the Chamber and then meet up with Tiffany Stratton. But onward and upward, let's talk about the Iron Women from these matches over the last 7 years, right? 2024. The longest time in there, last year, Bayley winning at the number 3 spot, 1 hour, 3 minutes, 3 seconds. The number 2 spot goes to 2023, the year prior, Rhea Ripley, who started at the number 1 spot, 1 hour, 1 minute, 8 seconds. She actually tied with Liv Morgan, because Liv Morgan was the number 2 that year. And it's funny, it seems like the last couple of years, quite literally, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan have been chasing one another back and forth, up until the Raw debut episode on Netflix, January 6th, where Rhea finally dethroned Liv Morgan to get her Women's World Championship back. So it's funny how the better part of 2 years, they were back and forth, clawing at each other. Remember, at one point in time, these two, in late 2022 or so, when Rhea was still babyface, they were a tag team, right? I thought they were going to go on to be tag team champions. Never mind Raquel and Liv, so we'll see. So number 3 spot goes to Bianca Belair in 2021. Ironically, she was number 3 that year when she went on to win the Rumble at 56 minutes, 52 seconds. Number 4, 2019, Natalya was the Iron Woman, 56 minutes, 1 second. She came in at the number 2 spot. She was eliminated by, I think, Nia Jax that year. 2018, the debut of the Women's Rumble. The number 1 spot, Sasha Banks came in, was the Iron Woman, 54 minutes, 46 seconds, eliminated by Brie and Nikki, the Bella Twins. Number 6, 2022, Bianca Belair, who came in at the number 8 spot, 47 minutes, 30 seconds. And the 7th and final is 2020, Bianca Belair, coming in at the number 2 spot, 33 minutes, 20 seconds. That's actually absurd that out of the 7-year history of the Women's Royal Rumble match, that Bianca Belair takes up 3 of these 7 spots in 2020, 2022, and of course, in 2021 when she went on to win it. So wild stuff, wild stuff. Both times, by the way, may I mention, 2020 and 2022, Bianca Belair was eliminated by Charlotte Flair. And it's funny, they're basically the 2 favorites to win this match outside of my pick, Io Sky. Total eliminations, Rhea Ripley has 20, Nia Jax has 19, Bayley has 17, and Charlotte and Bianca, here they go again. They always seem to be in the same conversation. Charlotte and Bianca with 15 apiece. Longest cumulative time overall in the match, over all the year's history, Bianca Belair leads damn near by a landslide. 3 hours, 5 minutes, 28 seconds. Natalya comes in 2 hours, 38 minutes, 39 seconds. Naomi, 2 hours, 27 minutes, 34 seconds. And Charlotte Flair, 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 30 seconds. Wrapping up some final statistics about the women. Then we're going to get to this men's Royal Rumble, guys. So stay strapped to your seats. And then we're going to talk about the men's tag match. And, of course, the main event, presumably, with Cody Rhodes defending his title against Kevin Owens in a ladder match. So let's talk about one match, the most eliminations. Now, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler are all tied at 8 eliminations in a single match. Bianca Belair's took place in 2020 as well as Shayna Baszler's. And last year, 2024, Nia Jax had 8 eliminations as well. Now, let's see. Could Lash Legend or Jordynne Grace potentially match that this year? I don't know. I think they could get in that range. I don't know if they're going to get 8. That's a lot. But maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe right there. Now, in 2018, Michelle McCool had the most eliminations. 2019, Charlotte had the most. 2021, Rhea Ripley, who almost won the match, Bianca Belair ended up winning, had the most eliminations. And 2022, Charlotte, and 2023, Rhea Ripley with the most eliminations. So that's 2 times. In 19 and 22, and 21 and 23, that Rhea and Charlotte, got the most eliminations. You hear a lot of these similar names constantly, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's Rhea, whether it's Bianca. And here's a fun fact. It might not have been fun for Liv Morgan initially, but in 2019, right, just the second year ever of the Women's Royal Rumble, Liv Morgan was the first woman to be eliminated. Let's fast forward to 2023 and 2024. Liv was the last to be eliminated. First by Rhea Ripley in 2023, and then Bayley in 2024 last year. So that's pretty impressive, to say the least. Liv Morgan's come a long way. Again, July of 2022 at Money in the Bank. She won Money in the Bank, cashed in on Ronda Rousey that night, won the SmackDown Women's Championship. Ends up winning the Women's World Championship earlier this year. What was it, April or May? I think it was May, when she defeated Becky Lynch, right? Went on a heck of a tear for the rest of the year and lost the title January 6th to Rhea Ripley. So the last few notes here, guys. 2018 and 2022, Sasha started at the #1 spot. How about that? It's a tall task, to say the least. Outside of Rhea Ripley winning from the #1 spot, nobody else has done that. She obviously had the longest time that year. And also 2020 and 2022, Shayna actually entered at the #30 spot. So that's actually pretty good. You want to be the last, I would think. Hopefully, a lot of the chaos has already ensued. Many women have been dumped over the top rope by this point, and now it's time for you to pick the bones, per se, right? And Shayna to get the job done. But unfortunately for Shayna, we know how her main roster run has went. Was she 2-3-time tag champion? Again, like a broken record. Just like I say, Asuka should have defeated Charlotte Flair in 2018. What was it, WrestleMania 34, New Orleans, for that SmackDown Women's Championship against Charlotte. Shayna should have defeated Becky Lynch, right? WrestleMania 36 in 2020. Becky was trying to help put Shayna over. Company didn't want that. And honestly, Shayna realistically hasn't gotten close to any kind of singles championship gold. Outside of the one time, I want to say it was 2022. Clash at the Castle, Cardiff, Wales, Liv Morgan defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Shayna Baszler, and Shayna didn't get it done there. I think I may have picked Shayna for that match because I was just hoping so bad for her to finally get that singles title, and that didn't happen, and Liv would end up losing that title a month later, October 8th, 2022, at Extreme Rules to Ronda Rousey anyway, so whatever. From one mixed martial arts fighter to another, Shayna didn't get it done, Ronda did. And so wrapping up this Women's Royal Rumble segment, most appearances, Natalya, Neidhart, Liv Morgan with 7 appearances each, which means, simply stated, they've been in every single Women's Royal Rumble match, so kudos to them. And right under that, at 6 appearances each, is Naomi, Dana Brooke, and Tamina. Now, of course, Naomi only at 6 because she missed out a year, not being there in 2023 when she had left the company, so that's why Naomi's not at 7. Otherwise, Naomi would be right up there with Natalya and Liv Morgan. And similar situation with Dana Brooke and Tamina. Dana Brooke was let go the fall of 2023, which means Dana Brooke was not able to hit 7 because she wasn't there in 2024. And the same goes, I believe, for Tamina Snuka as well. Otherwise, if they kept that same trajectory, all 5 of them would pretty much be at that same spot. But that's just a what-if scenario. And that pretty much sums up my Women's Royal Rumble. Again, I have Io Sky winning. Would not be surprised. Nobody would be surprised if Charlotte Flair won, right? We've seen this movie before. And Bianca Belair, again, if it's not Io, I'm personally hoping that Bianca Belair gets the job done. And the interesting part, when Jade returns, inevitably so, later tonight, what's going to happen with her and Bianca, her former tag partner, Naomi, and so on. So we'll see. But let's talk a little bit now. Let's talk a lot of it now of the Men's Royal Rumble picture, right? We're going to discuss all the confirmed entrants, which is just a little over half at this point in time. I believe the last person to confirm their entry late Friday after SmackDown was Damian Priest, who is now a member of SmackDown. By the way, I love that encounter and match where we saw Jacob Fatu and Damian Priest going back and forth. We saw LA Knight and Damian Priest go up against Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga. Damian Priest and company got the win. Priest pinning Tama Tonga for the victory there. But let's talk about some potentials here before we get to the confirmed names. What's going to happen with Joe Hendry? Now, initially, I was not expecting the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, defeating Nick Nemeth just 2 weeks ago at TNA Genesis. Joe Hendry was promoted to be on the Jericho Cruise, which started Friday, and that runs, I believe, till Tuesday. I believe it's out of Florida or whatnot. So, you know, the rumor was initially Joe Hendry was supposed to be on that cruise. Maybe he is somehow making it there, maybe before, maybe after the Rumble. I don't know. I don't know the specifics. So initially I was counting Joe Hendry out. Otherwise, I thought he was a shoo-in, even prior to him becoming champion, right? He's been so over the last year. He's been on NXT numerous times and stuff like that. So I'm going to go out on a whim. I don't know how much of a whim it really is, but I'm going to say Joe Hendry is going to be in the Rumble, right? So I'm going to fully anticipate Joe Hendry being there. Aleister Black. I was hoping to see him, Malachi Black in AEW. He's pretty much been written off of TV. House of Black is no longer a thing. Buddy Matthews, Brody King, Julia Hart over there are still a clique. But we'll see what happens. It was rumored that Malachi may be contractually obligated with AEW for the duration of February, or at least some point in February, which would mean, unfortunately, he would not be in the Rumble. So that stinks. If that's the case, maybe we don't see Aleister Black. I'm still putting him in my Rumble, being hopeful, but we'll see. Now, Ilya Dragunov, he's been seen the last couple of weeks at the WWE Performance Center, training, rehabilitating. The Mad Dragon. They don't call him the Mad Dragon for just any old reason. He is looking to make a comeback sooner than later. Now, look, if he's not at this Royal Rumble match later tonight, definitely anticipate seeing him on this road to WrestleMania. Again, when he got this injury back in September, I believe he tore his ACL, nobody thought we'd see him for the estimated time, 7, 8, 9 months, which means he missed, forget the Rumble, he's going to miss WrestleMania, right? But now, this guy may come back as early as tonight at the Rumble after 4 or 5 months and be on his road to WrestleMania, maybe even have a Mania match. Because quite honestly, I think Ilya Dragunov is the guy who ends up dethroning Braun Breaker and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. I could see it happening, but I don't know if that was the initial plans going forward to the fall and whatnot, into the winter and such, to Mania season. Maybe that's why he's fighting so hard to come back. I mean, Ilya Dragunov, he'd probably fight hard to come back regardless. That's just how he is. But if there's title implications on the line, a potential WrestleMania match, and winning it at that against a guy like Braun Breaker, I'm sure the Mad Dragon wants to be back. So we could see him as early as tonight as well. Another big return, very much pun intended on this. Another long shot. I get it. He shot down the rumors about being cleared and whatnot. Now, I was saying this the other night to somebody on one of my live streams I was doing about Big E being cleared or not. Oh, he's not and all this. Now, look, even if Big E was cleared today, why would he admit that to the general public? Because A, there's no better place for him to return than the Royal Rumble. And B, regardless where he returns, it's going to be an epic emotional event. This guy, early March of 2022, went out with a broken neck, injured on an episode of SmackDown, and that could be it for his career. It sure looked like it. Forget his career. We were looking at his health and well-being in general, right? And so that's why a lot of us were very emotionally invested a little over 5 years ago when Edge returned to the ring at the Royal Rumble 2020 after being away for 9 years. And so, look, if and when we see Big E return, it's going to be a major deal. The reason I'm leaning towards the Rumble is not just for it to be exciting and the perfect place for him to return, but him essentially being booted from the New Day 2 months ago, right? Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, early December, when they were celebrating 10 years of the New Day, they basically booted Big E and said he wasn't there for them the last couple of years, and now they're heels. And I love the fact they're heels. It's something new and refreshing going into a new era of them, right? Much needed. I think most of us would agree. It was bittersweet, but how nice would it be to see a Kofi or an Xavier in this match, and Big E's music hit. And wow, to me, the only thing that could supersede AJ Lee returning after 10 years or a John Cena victory in this match is Big E returning after almost 3 years out with a broken neck. I'm hanging on the hope there. So those are some potential people we'll see. Obviously, the probability of that differs with all of them. Let's get to all the confirmed entrants for the Men's Rumble, right? We have John Cena. This is the John Cena Farewell Tour. A lot of people are obviously picking him to get that WrestleMania match, number 17. But look, fear not. If he doesn't win here, he could still win the Elimination Chamber. We'll see. John Cena, CM Punk, another favorite. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Mr. 619, Rey Mysterio, Sami Zayn, main event, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Penta. It's been a hot topic ever since joining the company a couple weeks ago. He's 2-0. Earlier Friday, during the Royal Rumble media, teasing some back and forth with Dominic Mysterio, Penta flipping off Dominic Mysterio's hat. while he was about to be interviewed. So I think we very likely see Penta versus Dominic Mysterio. Some even say maybe Rey Mysterio in Penta's corner for WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. That would be fun. Logan Paul, Shinsuke Nakamura, Intercontinental Champion Braun Breaker, and I must say, United States Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, right? Chad Gable, Carmelo Hayes, and Damian Priest, all confirmed. So those 16 are confirmed. That's as far as I know at this very moment in time. I'm fully anticipating to see the Celtic Warrior Sheamus, Jacob Fatu. Again, I mentioned Joe Hendry, TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Andrade, Kofi Kingston. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to get Kofi and Xavier. You know, I think maybe we get both, but at least we got to get Kofi in this match. I'm just going to go with him for now. Potentially Karrion Kross. I'm going to go with Trick Williams showing up from NXT. I would love that. Two-time NXT champion. I could just imagine the pop for that one as well. Santos Escobar, The Miz. Again, Aleister Black, I'd love to see him. Again, the probability has dwindled the last week or so, with people saying that he's still contractually obligated to AEW through February at some point, even though he's been written off TV. So we'll see. Maybe I put in an Xavier Woods instead of Malachi Black, Aleister Black. We'll see. Dominic Mysterio, we got to get him and Penta in this match, especially after that tease between the two Friday during the media call, or the media segment at the Royal Rumble. And now we're at about the 28th spot. I'm going to go with Matt Cardona. He's been out of WWE almost 5 years. Chelsea Green's husband, call him what you want, formerly known as Zack Ryder. He's been waiting for this opportunity for a very long time to showcase himself. And what better way to bring him back than forget Zack Ryder? He wants to come back as Matt Cardona. He ain't doing the whole woo-woo-woo thing no more, you know? So he's ready to come back as the indie god, as he calls himself now. Number 29, I am going to go with the Mad Dragon, Ilya Dragunov. I don't know. What the heck? These last couple of picks, I'm feeling pretty risky. So why not? It's the Rumble. Ilya Dragunov, the Mad Dragon, returns again from a torn ACL. And Big E, coming back from a broken neck. Those are two severe injuries, but I'm going to come with Ilya Dragunov and Big E coming in at 29 and 30. Obviously, that's not the numbers I necessarily anticipate them showing up in the Rumble, but that's how I'm rounding off my list. Now, there's been a lot of rumors about The Rock bullying his way in, the final boss. He's literally on the board of TKO and Endeavor, whatever. So about him coming in at number 31. Look, if this was the time to do it, what better time than now for the final boss to show up when he likes? You know, he basically opened Monday Night Raw on Netflix. He closed NXT Tuesday the following night, both nights in Los Angeles. He does what he wants when he wants. WrestleMania this past year, right? WrestleMania, they have this thing called WWE World, for those that aren't familiar, where you can meet wrestlers, get autographs, and they have panels and stuff. So long story short, The Rock was 2 hours late. I was there. This was in Philadelphia a few days before Mania. I believe it was that Thursday. Anyway, that said, a lot of people were saying, you know, is this The Rock playing, you know, leaning into his character as the final boss? You could say that. That's how he could remotely get away with it. But honestly, that's just The Rock and how he does. The final boss, I feel like, is not very far from the individual he is, like it or not. So that stated, I could totally see The Rock changing the rules and saying, oh, you know, 30, forget it. I'm going to be number 31. Everybody thinks all the entrants are there. Wait till you hear that buzzer sound one more time. The Rock shows up. I like that. I want to see him at 31. I think that's awesome. So hopefully we see that. Now, look, Finn Balor, he's out injured, kayfabe or not. Braun Strowman out injured because of at the hands of Jacob Fatu last Friday on SmackDown. So Balor and Strowman, there's reasons we won't see them. AJ Styles out. He's another one rumored that could potentially be back. I don't think we see Styles return here. And Bronson Reed, who's obviously out as well. He got surgery like a month ago. Now, there's a couple other people we could see. Now, when I did my first list last week, I did put Moose. Right, I put the X Division champion from TNA, Moose, in this match. But being that now Joe Hendry is likely to be here, and we cleared up the issues of potentially the Jericho Cruise and stuff, if Joe Hendry is here, then we won't see Moose. I was putting Moose in that Rumble if we weren't going to see Hendry. Either way, Moose deserves to be in it. That said, I mean, he's a multi-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion as well. So, and then Oba Femi. I was thinking about putting the NXT champion in here as well. I would love nothing more than to see an Oba Femi Moose face-off. And so, even though I didn't include them in my 30, I would love to see that take place. A couple other notes as far as the men are concerned. Well, I did my final four last time. Long story short, I'm going with CM Punk. I'm still sticking to the two winners I discussed last week. Io Sky for the women, CM Punk for the men. And simply stated, that's pretty much it, I guess, as far as the men. I'm not going to run through like I did with earlier with all the women's statistics. I stumbled upon that the other day, and I thought that would be fun to go over, but I'm not going to. Maybe some of you love it. I'm not going to bore you guys and have you stay an extra 5-6 minutes just to hear all these stats for the Iron Man and who's been there in the longest, most appearances and all that. I just want to move forward to the last two matches at this standpoint. But that stated, I'm very excited for all the matches that are set to take place later tonight. So let's talk about the two other matches, right? Let's talk about the 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. DIY, 2-time tag champs, going up against Motor City Machine Guns. That's Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, as R-Truth would call them, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H, right? The Cerebral Assassin. There was nothing funnier than earlier this week after Triple H was announced as the headliner for this year's Hall of Fame than R-Truth posting a picture of Tommaso Ciampa congratulating Triple H. He's just amazing. He was just, even on SmackDown the other night, and welcoming Damian Priest to Monday Night Raw as the two seemingly have linked up again on SmackDown. It's just, if you know, you know. R-Truth is just great. Anyway, they're going up against, again, Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin. And both of these guys, their first time around, had, both of these teams, rather, had very short tag title reigns. Motor City's, I think, was at 43 days around there, give or take. The first time over the summer, July to August, when DIY had them, it was around 29 days. I think by this standpoint, DIY has surpassed that. Still, to me, DIY's tag title reign has not been long enough. So I would like to see DIY go past Motor City Machine Guns. We saw this past Friday on SmackDown that there's an 8-man tag match where Motor City was teaming up with Los Garza, and they were going up against Pretty Deadly and DIY. Now, during this match, Chris Sabin had differences with Los Garza. They left their side, the guys from Legado del Fantasma. Humberto and Angel, they left with Elektra Lopez, left them out to dry. I thought at this moment in time we were going to see either Sabin or Shelley take the pin. Long story short, I forget who ended up getting the pin. Maybe I know Tommaso Ciampa got pinned. I forget if it was by Shelley or Sabin, but either way, I said to myself, okay, in most cases, especially going into a big PLE weekend, I said if Motor City got the win, then DIY is definitely going to retain tonight, or at that moment tomorrow night. But then you got to see Pretty Deadly, who's been pretty fed up the last couple of weeks with DIY and how they've been manipulating them. Now, I don't know if this means Pretty Deadly is on their way to becoming babyface. I would love nothing more than that. I think they're due for a babyface run to really get some momentum under them, maybe some wins and stuff, because Pretty Deadly's great. They made me believers 2 years ago at NXT Deadline. I think it was 2022, I think, when they fought The New Day. Yeah, 2022, I think. And that was an amazing tag team match where the New Day ended up dethroning them, but that showed me like Pretty Deadly's the real deal, regardless of what you think of their character. Anyway, that said, Pretty Deadly may cost DIY this match. And as much as I like Motor City a little more than DIY, DIY deserves to have a lengthy tag title reign this time around. So I'm going to stick to DIY, getting it done regardless of what happens with them and Pretty Deadly either way. DIY, they just deserve a longer title reign, regardless if they're heels or not. So I'm going to stick with that. But if Motor City wins, so be it. Let's get to the main match here. The Undisputed WWE Championship on the line in a ladder match. Now, this Undisputed Championship that Cody Rhodes has been donning ever since WrestleMania 40 in Philly, dethroning the OTC, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. And then we've seen Kevin Owens since December 14th episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, walking around with this Winged Eagle title, right? That Cody Rhodes initially brought out that night. Triple H allowed Cody that night to walk out with that title. Cody's been trying to bring the Winged Eagle back forever. Much respect. I'm a big fan of it. And reminds me of my earlier days in the late 80s, early 90s, growing up, watching that title, right? Seeing it on TV weekly. But anyway, that said, Kevin Owens ended up taking that title back Friday night anyway, when he was having an interview with Joe Tessitore at the start of the show in the center of that ring. So either way, I got to go with Cody Rhodes. I think CM Punk mentioned at the start of this show that KO is 0-5 at the Royal Rumble. So let's make that 0-6. And I like KO, don't get me wrong. I feel like half of those came to Roman Reigns over the last few years for that Universal Championship. But either way, love KO, but Cody Rhodes is not losing this title, at least not now. I don't see the point. I like KO, especially this time of year. You know, especially this time of year, Cody Rhodes needs to be going into Mania, focused on who his opponent's eventually going to be, right? So these two, this match to me is a little more simple than the tag team match. Gotta go with Cody Rhodes, regardless how he gets it done in this ladder match. Cody Rhodes gets up there, gets that title or those titles, and wins. Again, the tag match I'm not so sure about. I kind of want to go with Motor City, but I feel like DIY should have a longer tag title reign. And so with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it for my Royal Rumble 2025 predictions for the women's, for the men's, for the tag team match, and last but certainly not least, for the Undisputed WWE Championship. I thank all of you for joining me here today. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. If you haven't already, please like this video, hit the thumbs up, and especially subscribe if you haven't done that either. So hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So every time I upload content or go live every now and again, you'll be there to see me and take part in the comments section, in the live chat. I love to have you guys there. If you know me by now, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube, I always respond to your guys' comments. I love your guys' takes. Love your constructive criticism. Thank you for joining me here for these Royal Rumble 2025 predictions. Enjoy the show.